All right, cut me off before I got to my third example. So, in case you want to see one more example of group busing and reverb busing, this is the most intense of the three. Some friends of mine write musicals, and this is a musical, kind of confusing and it's going to sound weird, but it's a musical about this nun and one of the first composers that we know of, who from like the 1200s. She had an interesting life story. They wrote a musical about her. It's pretty great, but they're having me mix some of the live recordings they did. They recorded it at Sleeping Village over in Avondale in December. And so, yeah, I've been working on some of these, and this one they released as a quote unquote single. So there's a lot going on here. This is a lot of tracks. I'll zoom out, but I'll bring all of it down. So we've got 23 tracks total. 4 of them are drums. And this is a drums, again, like a mix bus or a group bus. Here is the bass I have separate. The rest of the band I have here. So this is piano, 4 electric guitars that come in at different times, and then a cello. I had to do a lot of work to make the cello sound good. The original, well, whatever, it doesn't matter, but the original signal was... It's pretty gross. So... Anyway, that's separate. But we've got room mics down here. So because they were doing it live, luckily someone was smart enough to put room mics up so that this is what it sounded like in the house, roughly. So a lot of the lead vocal. It's a pretty small venue, so it's not like it has a lot of reverb on it. Here's the backing vocals. So I've got 5 backup singers. And they're really shouting out, all singing different harmonies. So here's the tenor. And then I think these are grouped like this. They're the kind of altos and the sopranos. Yeah, so together. So rather than thinking of those as 5 separate things, I want to just group them all together. So I've got a group bus going. You'll notice all these are grouped to bus 6, and this drop down, that's where they end up, is bus 6. That means I can treat them as one instrument, as one unit. And this is a fancy plugin that I've got a lot going on with, but I'm compressing, adding some EQ, I'm saturating, de-essing the whole group. And that allows that to happen. I don't have to do that on every single channel. I can just do that to the group. Whereas the lead vocal, I want to treat separately. I want to make sure that I can put her right where I want her in the mix. I've got an extra reverb just on her. It's just a little quick plate, but it adds something. And then I've got 4 different buses that get applied to her at different times. One of them you'll notice is turned off now. At the very beginning, she sings this, and this is an actual like snippet from a piece that she wrote, but she sings this thing that's meant to be kind of heard in a church. And so the bus that I have here is literally a church type of reverb. It's a 7-second reverb. So this is what that sounds like in the beginning. You'll notice this is turned on, and then right around here, it automatically gets turned off. I used some automation to do that. Here's... Yeah, so it's meant to be like prayerful in a church, and then you'll notice this gets turned off right there. In the beginning, and then it's a more within you, a flower was ready to bloom. And it's not quite as much reverb for this part. there's still some delays, and I've got a short reverb, a longer reverb, and then a delay to give that more body. But I've also got those things, and this is more advanced, but I've also got those things automated. So during the choruses, when things are louder and a little more boisterous, her delay, for instance, comes up 5 decibels. And same thing with the long reverb, comes up a couple decibels. I was just finding I would set the level for the delay during a loud part, but then when I would go back to the soft part, I felt like the delay was too much. And so I just automated it. You can do that. A lot of times we think of automation, we think of the reverb, or sorry, the main volume. And believe me, look at this. There's plenty of just volume reverb on her and really the whole band. But you can automate anything, panning, different reverb sends, even, when you're talking about software instruments and synths, you can automate every little knob that's on one of those. So again, this is, and I know I jumped around a little bit there, but this is how we've got 4 different group buses here, and then when I collapse those down, it's just much easier to see everything. Plus, again, I can add stuff on those channels to help glue them together. And then I've got my buses for my sends, bus 1, 2, 4, and 11. I don't know how it ended up being those random numbers, but and then this 10 that doesn't look like it's doing anything, it's actually helping me sidechain the kick drum. So when my kick hits, my bass gets quieter. There's my kick. Actually, this was just a stereo. If I pop this forward, you'll notice these waveforms are exactly the same. This was just a stereo out from an electronic kit. So I had to do some work to kind of separate those things so I could make them sound good, or make it sound like a full drum set. But anyway, every time the kick drum hits, this compressor engages so that the kick can pop through, because the kick and the bass are operating in the same area. That allows that to happen. So that's a very quick sidechain compression thing. Another place I use sidechain compression here, when I sent in one of the final drafts for the mix, they were saying that they wanted the background vocals to be even louder. They're meant to be kind of like, sing along type thing. Let me give you the full context here. I turned that church back on here. And there's the room has the people clapping and cheering and all that. But sidechain, so every time the background vocalists sing, the band gets turned down just a little bit. So not the drums and bass, I should be clear, the rest of the band that are competing in the same frequencies. So this compressor right here is sidechained over to the vocals. So every time the vocalists come in, here I'll just play it where they're not and where they are. Not doing anything, but when the vocals come in, the band is getting turned down a little bit to make room for the vocals to pop through. The feedback I got on the mix was basically they wanted those to pop forward, and rather than just turning them up, at a certain point you got to turn something down. And so we're not missing the guitar and cello and piano, and again it's just 2 decibels, but it's let the vocals pop right through Yeah, and so on. So that's a quick explanation of group busing, and also busing out for or doing reverb sends for reverbs and delays. I wasn't planning on it, but I got into some sidechaining stuff as well. So that's kind of a more complicated example where using some of those things comes in handy. All right, I'm going to stop there. If you made it this far, I hope you learned something. Hope you're doing all right. Take care of yourselves, and hope to see you sometime soon. Later.